Hi, everyone. This is Tuesday, February 5th, 2017, and you are listening to the fifth episode of the Lifting Radio Show. I am Joanna Michaels, one of your co-hosts. Christopher Stephen Jacobs, your other co-host, is right here as well. We are honored and pleased with the support and encouragement you have all given us over this last month. I am assuming we must be doing something right with all the extra attention we have been receiving from both sides of the equation. I wish I could say all has been love and light within my existence, but that would not only be a lie, it wouldn't be balanced. And I can't stress enough that balance is also a fundamental goal. So in our discussion so far, we have had be authentic, be protective, discern, deny the known, and all of these under the premise of an actualization of peace, love, and family. All else is noise. Tonight, we want to enhance this understanding to add in the importance of balance. So what does the concept of balance have to do with our blog, The Rules of Engagement? Well, it is one of those things we must learn, one of the reasons that the guides have a non-interference rule. We are going to use a very personal and very fresh experience that Chris and I have had to just go through for you to gain a better understanding of what we are talking about and why it is so important. So right now, I just want to go ahead and add a disclaimer to the show. This is not a happy, happy, joy show tonight. This is going to be an honest and somewhat painful discussion about realities that I, for one, and I am sure there are many others, wish did not exist, but this conversation must be had. However, on another note, learning about this and how to wade through things like this will quickly help you break through the quagmire and allow you to claim your true sovereignty. So, before we get started, Chris, can you please provide us with tonight's blessing?
Yes, I can. This one is by Bugnassi. May the truths in this world be more evident to the casual observer, and may all blessings be legit and not coded with the indecision of blind acceptance.
Okay, so I'm going to start off this discussion tonight. So just let me reiterate again to everyone that Chris and I are no gurus. We are learning and growing just like everyone else. What we did agree to, we believe, as a part of our life's mission, is to impart as much knowledge as possible to assist all. But rest assured, we have truly been living it as well. So it is our understanding, what we've been told, that with the gifts that we have, Chris and I, that being able to talk with the galactics, that we were also learning how to interact with them in somewhat of a diplomatic type fashion. So that we were not only trying to help our fellow humans turn the boat around and let go of past programming that perpetuated the 3D experience, but also with other races as well. And I have to tell you, it felt good having Source at your side, talking with anyone, any race, anyone at all, to try and move this forward. And it was my personal desire to always see everyone move forward. I personally wanted this because I wanted this world to be Joanna's world and my bubble of reality. And I wanted no one left behind. The problem is that I only have the right to myself. My caring and desires cannot rule over others, no matter if I think it is for their highest good or not. And it has been that personal desire that has clouded my judgment and understanding at times because I did not want to see it end any other way. I also allowed in a certain level of abuse, trying to still hold out for a conversation that I so desired to happen. So forget aliens. Does this type of behavior seem familiar just in a human sense? How many of us have stayed and allowed certain bullying and abuses to occur, all the while hoping for a particular outcome because our desire for another to go a different path was so great that in reality we were trying to force our own desires upon them? Let me just make it simple and clear. We have no right to do this. Every entity's path is their own sacred path to take. Don't misunderstand me. Trying to reach out and help someone is a great thing. We should reach out and provide comfort and counsel, but never allow abuse. So remember this. It is never okay to be violated, poked, prodded, verbally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, or any other type of bullying and abusive behavior you can think of. Never, period, never. I was apparently meant to learn this by experience so that I would completely understand. It has not been an easy task. But in order to walk the walk and live by the example I am preaching, I have had to learn to let go and let others make their own choice with their own consequences. You can and should love them from afar, honor their source, their part of the one, mourn the loss, feel the why is it necessary, feel the anger or disgust of it all, feel the hurt and betrayal or any other emotion that you feel, the not wanting this to happen. Feel it all and then let it go. For me, the story of learning all of this began as a small child. My long story of abduction was not one of a happy experience. Apparently, I was born with a certain type of DNA that is desirable, and they wanted it. I do not wish to character assassinate all of a race of people, but now I'm referring to the insectoids for this experience. Their tactics of retrieving my DNA was brutal and painful with no mercy. These particular memories I'm talking about emerged more recently. Up until then, my only substantial insectoid memories I thought were finished when Chris and I spoke for the first time. On that first meeting, there was a stubborn one here who did not want to release me from their experiment. Chris, with help from other guides, he had to call in a lot of people, managed to get him away, or so we thought. So Chris, can you talk about what they would do and continue with what has been occurring here?
Yes, I can. We have had several insectoid visitors. One of my guides, Bugnassi, is in fact an insectoid. He is from the future, and it is an important distinction. However, even he would point out that there are many of his kind that are very negative and abusive. Over the past few weeks, we had an increase of insectoid encounters awake and in dreaming, as well as warnings to be aware of the dreaming bug. Let me tell you some of those dreams and encounters now. During the night, I had heard several beeping sounds in our room. It sounded like a device trying to fly into the bedroom. As the beeping became louder, I felt a slight case of sleep paralysis coming on, followed by a familiar wind that blew through the room. This wind is very unusual. Other people have reported this to me while going into the sleep paralysis state. I came to find out that this is actually a being passing from one density to another, one-dimensional layer to another, or somebody passing from the backstage to the stage. It's kind of like opening a pop can and hearing the kush, and that's essentially what that was. There's a bit of a pressure change there. So that's what people are feeling. Then I fell asleep and had the following dream. This was incredibly creepy. I'm just going to say that now. Joanna and I were in a house that had very poor lighting. We periodically spoke to a woman that was dressed in a blue floral dress, had dark hair, and had a higher voice. Joanna and I became separated as I wandered the never-ending house for clues as to where we were. As I turned a corner into a hallway, I saw an overturned lamp. The room ahead of me was dark, and the woman was just barely visible to me. As I got closer, she spoke. She said, "Hi, Chris," and then some gossip, complaining, and small talk. It was just like how anybody would talk to one another. At this point, I reached in and grabbed her and pulled her into the light. I could now clearly see that she was not at all human, but an insectoid dressed in a human wig, blue dress, and spoke just like the girl from before. But in some instances, I could not grasp, this person could not grasp the English language correct. Some words were flipped and out of place, like someone new trying to learn the slang and other language intricacies. What we were being shown was the fact that these beings do interact among us. However, they have slight differences that make them just not quite fit in. The dream was just the start. The next night we had an insectoid show up that was attempting to take genetic samples. I told him that if he wanted to be in our home, that he had to do it the proper way and show up. We were being nice and wanted to try and have a positive experience, so I was downplaying what he was there for and just focused on trying to get to set polite parameters for visiting. I now believe that he was also trying to influence me into not quite paying attention to why he was actually there. The following morning, he spoke to us and spoke of how he took genetic samples of us to augment himself and all insectoid kind everywhere. We thought, well, maybe he essentially became a changer. So we continued down the road we thought we were on with him. So, being naive and stupid and not really understanding what was going on, we explained that being a changer came with a responsibility. He told us he could take his DNA and make it possible for all of us to be on the good timeline, that we would manifest only good. We explained free will, and he explained the many races abuse humans because they are easily susceptible to manipulation, and that their antigen would cure that. We said no, and that free will still applied no matter how well-intentioned their gift was. They also said that they could take away obesity in humans. A simple tweaking would be all that was needed. Several races wanted us slow and fat to either eat or enslave, and that we were all supposed to be Nordic in nature. We thanked him, but still told him no. He said that we were already transforming into Nordic kind, quote unquote. So we left this encounter feeling good about everyone ascending. He wouldn't even give his name, another clue we missed. So we called him Charlie. Then there was Chaz. He did the same thing. And again, we tried to have a conversation with him and coach him on the meaning of source. We were idiots. And that's understating the matter quite well. Then Chet, quote unquote, came with an offer of de-aging serum. He said that since we helped, quote unquote, them, that he would repay our kindness with helping us out. He was actually playing off of our very own fears and emotions. This all happened before we went to bed. Joanna later mentioned that she had the same pain in her back emerging, even though there was no acknowledgement that anything was being extracted. The pain for both of us should have been a clue that something was very wrong. Joanna, why don't you tell them what happened during the night?
Well, I was pretty disturbed going to bed. I was not happy with the encounter or proposal, and I was upset, obviously, and in distress, honestly, with my back hurting. I was feeling extremely threatened and instinctually turned my back so that it was up against Chris or flat on the mattress, not turning myself the other way so that it wouldn't be exposed. What happened next after I kind of finally started to doze off is that I didn't quite go to sleep, but I was starting to remember and have visualizations or memories of what occurred to me throughout my whole life. And I saw the whole game for what it really was. I had been pretty much exploited and abused since I was a small child. And although we thought that I was done when Chris rid me of them when we met, well, it had still continued. So when I really realized what was going on, I went through this whole wide range of emotions and finally had to come to some sort of realization that these beings were never going to cease. I was angry, and I called out to them and told them that I knew and that if they stepped 1 foot onto my property, that it would be seen as aggression, and my guides would deal with them in the most permanent of ways. While all this was going on, Chris was in a really deep sleep, a state that I have actually seen him in before when he was literally knocked out by something. And so I very loudly woke him, and it was hard waking him, and then validated my understanding to be correct. My guide then said, "Do you then revoke any agreement you made during your sleep state?" And I was like, "What?" I kind of was shocked to hear that. And I was like, "Of course." I said, "Yes. But I don't remember doing this in my dream." And to which my guide said, "Precisely. They're doing." So we right then and there did a revocation. And we obviously ran across something that we did not know before. So can you tell them, Chris, what occurs in dreams and how to help everyone clean up their dream time?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it was quite it was very disturbing to me that within our dream states we can and have agreed to so much that we are simply unaware of. The Sasquatch people told me that they called these insectoids the dreaming bugs for a reason. They told me that they would tell someone some sob story, get them to be compassionate towards them, then in their dreams get them to agree to an extensive harvesting of spinal fluid, as well as various other cellular parts and pieces. These entities can exist in both the delta and theta wavelength, so they do not need to sleep. Since we exist on one of these wavelengths while awake and the other while asleep, this provides them an inlet into the human dreamscape, as I have come to call it. They regard what is said in dreams no different than if we were awake. So any agreement with them made in the other bandwidth to us allows them to do what they do. All the while, the person remembers virtually nothing, and the insectoids can say that it was agreed to the whole time. Chawanda once told me that the way that his people protected themselves, as well as early native peoples, from these dreaming bugs was with a flat, circular device with a small focal crystal in the center of a threaded web. This device would dampen any thoughts sent towards the sleeping person. The early native peoples adapted this and created dream catchers. This does not mean that the non-technological version is any less important than its technological counterpart. In fact, one could say that they are the same because of the intent focus on both of them. How does this apply to the rules of engagement? Well, in order to help you, the guides must have a clear path to do so, meaning one must not give permission to any darker entity, even in the dream state. Also, per these rules of engagement, the guides cannot tell us about said permission until we ourselves notice that something has indeed occurred. Some would say that this is some sort of excuse on their part, or some kind of paradox. But truth be told, it is up to us to know what is around us, as well as influencing us at all times. So, to help everyone that's listening on this call, and on whoever listens to the recording later on, I'm going to speak a revocation that I wrote myself to deal with these dreaming bugs and anything in the dream state. First, I invite everyone to do a revocation at this very second. I'm going to keep everybody muted. You can do this for yourselves, or like I said, during the recorded time. So please, on your own, state after me. I, and then state your name. And don't just say state your name. I've heard that many times. Do hereby revoke any permissions given to any malicious being or beings during my sleep and during my dream time, in any dimension, collapsing timeline, invading timeline, parallel universe, and rogue expression. This applies to all possible pasts, the present, and all possible futures. It is forever so. So now, you are all clear, but let's finish this conversation with an understanding of balance. Joanna?
Okay, yes, let's finish this up. I wish I could say it all ended there, but once I woke Chris up and we discovered the game and set the boundaries, and, they made their displeasure known by poking and sending thoughts, images in, and just bullying and being very aggressive. We finally said enough and said that they had two choices: either go away or they will be made to go away, that we were done with this. And then we said, being our most authentic self, that what happens next is all up to them, that we are sovereign beings and understand that we do not have to allow this. We say, no more. You can either walk away, or if you choose not to, then it is an act of aggression. And we have a whole army of guides and friends who will help in our defense. I actually teared up because I did not want a fight to go down. No matter what, I just didn't. But it was not my choice. It was theirs. I sent them love and compassion as they stood my ground. But part of me already knew, and then they confirmed it, that they would not stop. So I accepted what they said and asked the guides to end this. Chris watched as they killed two of them, and the third one then decided to surrender. Michael then came into us and explained that our discussion with them and our stance was balanced. We felt what it was like to be their victim. We felt what it was like wanting to be the aggressor and kill, because we wanted to kill them during some of our thoughts. But in the end, we were able to see them as a part of Source. We saw our rights as equal to theirs and allowed the choice for all to follow their beliefs, to just let it be so without anger or judgment. So, Chris, do you have any final words about this before we let the Galactic speak?
Yes, I do. Yes, the guides have said to me that once the guides are asked to intervene, that any attack on us is an attack on them. Michael told us that at no time is it ever acceptable to tolerate bullying of any kind. Do not ever just blindly accept bullying from any of these entities, thinking that it is purely God's will or divine will that it is done. Accept the differences in look, race, etc., but never accept or tolerate bullying. There is a difference there that Michael wanted to make perfectly clear. Again, accepting difference of race, creed, color is preferred, but accepting a situation like being oppressed is a very bad thing. Incidentally, this means you are agreeing with the negative entity's agenda. Remember, you are not alone. You have a whole army of guides around you. All you need to do is assert yourself to not allow this in anymore and ask for assistance. They have been waiting for your call. Now we are at the point in the show, I know this seems a little shorter than normal, that we ask for galactic contribution. So, in that, I'm going to look for any entities of galactics in the room that are of our highest good that want to contribute to tonight's show. Then afterwards, we will take questions. Let's see. Interesting. This is Bugnasi that wants to speak at the moment. He's pretty close to me. I can usually tell him the difference between him and any of the others. He's a slightly different coloring for one, and his energy is totally different than any of these other insectoids that we have been dealing with. So, I will allow him to speak. I've known him for quite some time. Forgive the stuttering tonight. There have been other insectoids here this evening that have tried very hard to disrupt this show this evening. And this is why you've heard me stammer a few times during this. And even now they're making my throat very dry. So, give me just a second. Okay, I will allow Bugnasi. I'm checking that it is actually him. Yes. Okay. Give me just a minute. He's taking a little bit. Greetings, everyone on this call. You know me as Bugnasi. My fellow insectoid species are a shameful lot, as I must say to you now. I do not bash or slam anyone, but in this particular instance, I must say that very few of my kind now are being controlled by artificial intelligences and the like. They are doing this of their own free will and volition, for whatever reason is their own. I have come to discover in recent weeks that my people are extracting spinal fluid from people. This is a most unacceptable practice, and this is going to be put to a stop here very soon. This was discovered in a reading that this one, my friend, my dear friend Chris here, said very recently to Joanna, where there was a woman, I will not mention her name here, that had had so much spinal fluid extracted that she gained a hump on her back and could barely function. This was discovered to have been done by my very own kind, at least in this particular time continuum. This is most unacceptable and disturbs me to the core. I will not tolerate this from my kind. So on behalf of the insectoid races, I formally apologize on behalf of every insectoid everywhere. They seem to think they could speak on behalf of your people, so now I am speaking on behalf of them. Though I am from a different timeline, as you humans would say, I still see them as my brothers, as I see humans as my brothers. Yes, I am technically a human insectoid hybrid from the year 300,000, give or take. That may seem mind-blowing, as you humans would say, but just know there is a version of your world that now sits outside of the normal flow of time. The only way to judge how far ahead it is from you is by seeing it on a parallel function and on a parallel trajectory. But suffice it to say, it is at least 300,000 years ahead of your own world. It is a purple magenta color and has a dimmer star in the sky than you humans would be used to. My people merged with your people roughly 10,000 years from your present day. We merged because of these very things that are happening in your present. My people doing experiments and the like. This is not something that I condone, so do not mistake my tone for acceptance. But this ended up having a bright side, as you would say, to it, and ended up creating different hybrids across your globe. The face of the human race in the 300,000th century is a very different one, vastly different than what you humans look like today. Granted, there are many, many humans that still look exactly the same as today. Their DNA has traits of my own people, plus that of many other races, such as the Sirian star beings, Pleiadian collective, the Anunnaki, and many other species throughout your quadrant that you do not yet know of. Even your Sasquatch people are included in that genome, the race that is known as the human concordate. It looks very different than you would expect, but I digress. The message I wish to give is this. At no time is it ever acceptable to tolerate bullying from any ET, as you call us, species out there. Though these rules of engagement, as they are called, are in place. And unfortunately, they are in place for a reason. The Galactic Federation set this up so people would have to call out to us in a moment of relinquishing pride, though their rules are even more strict regarding Earth. There are, as you say, loopholes in every set of rules and in every rule book. So, just know that since you humans are boots on the ground, as it were, and there has to be a human on the ground that notices a particular situation, just know we are always watching from above. And if you should ever need assistance, we will be there so long as your path dictates that we can indeed interfere on your behalf. This is what I have come to say this evening. I will open the floor for any other of my brethren here that wish to speak this night. Thank you. All right. All right, I'll see if anyone else is around. All right. There is a newcomer to the Galactic crowd this evening. He is of Michael's grouping, and he came to my attention when I did a read with someone just, I believe it was yesterday. And he looks like a Scandinavian or a Viking. He has light brownish hair with a little bit of gold streaking to it. And he has his beard in braids. And his name is Lorgren. He has never spoken on any shows that I have done. So he wishes to speak on this subject of the rules of engagement. So I will give Lorgren the floor. Greetings, everyone. My name is Lorgren. I am named for my father, Loth Lorgren, of the clan Lorgren. But I will digress. I am not actually giving my real first name. The clan is called Lorgren. I just do this so that I am the figurehead for my particular clan of, as you say, Orion giants. But I digress. In the subject of the rules of engagement, as they are known as. My people, you would know us as the Nephilim, or the giants that walk the earth. I must say this. My brethren will always be available to help out whoever asks for it, without question, but per these rules of engagement, we have to consider every word that comes out of a human's mouth to be literal, even though we understand metaphor very, very well. We are not stupid. We know exactly what you're saying. But per these very strict rules imposed by the Galactic Federation, we must adhere to extreme literal protocol. So, in your requests, in your official requests for our people and any quote-unquote angelic people that you wish to call out to, this includes Michael himself, you must be as literal and observant as you can. You must state that as a human with boots on the ground, as some would say, that you wish for my people and any benevolent races that are out there to intervene on your behalf. The only two times that this would not occur, even with an official request, is this. The person's path dictate that they learn from the oppression, and two, that they must bring out internal protection, as what was stated earlier on these programs. These are the only two conditions that would negate the official requests as per the rules of engagement. These rules were set up in play very strictly by the Galactic Federation many, many centuries ago, when indeed they lapsed on these rules, and they came across a world where one of the species was so placated to that one of these individuals came to power very, very abruptly. He was able to, through mental manipulation and physical manipulation, able to take over the Galactic Federation, and thusly ruled the Galactic Federation for millennia and millions of your years. This being became so incredibly powerful, he believed he was a god. This normally is not wrong in the spiritual sense, believing that you are creation itself. But in this instance, it was ego that ruled his thoughts, and evil that ruled his heart, which, in fact, he had no heart. He was of a particular species, that they had something different, but I digress. He then paved the way, unfortunately, for when the Galactic Federation was able to come back around and get rid of this individual. They stricten their rules so much that their protocol has gone completely, as you would say, off the wall. They don't allow interference of any kind on Earth except through telepathy and through very, very strictly watched, sometimes, physical contacts. But this is incredibly, incredibly rare. And any of my kind and anybody else of the ET nature that is out in the system attempts to show themselves in person are actually, as you say, arrested. This is not something we wish to encounter, and we wish to ratify these laws within the Galactic Federation. Though the Spiritual Court of Equity, as this one knows them as, is putting this particular set of rules in abeyance currently, the court did indeed ask that some of the laws still be adhered to while these rules were being overseen by the Spiritual Court of Equity. One of which was the non-interference directive. And this includes not necessarily just telepathy, because telepathy is the tool of choice when speaking to your kind. This Spiritual Court of Equity is still overlooking the vast rule book created by the Galactic Federation ever since this dictator's deposing, and are now extracting and excluding many of their redundant rules. This may seem interesting to you, but it is actually a very serious court proceeding that is going on right in front of your very noses. You may have noticed some changes to, as you would say, speaking to your guides in recent days and weeks. This is because the spiritual court of equity, while overviewing some of these rules, has to put them in abeyance or suspension. This made it so that we could actually have a little bit more flexibility while speaking to your kind. This has overjoyed us greatly because we consider you our equal brothers and sisters in the sunlight. But we also must adhere to the fact that we do not wish to enable your people or even scare your people. So we must still adhere to the slow integration of knowledge, but this still has given us an opportunity that we may not have had before. There may have even been some instances where some of our kind have showed themselves to your people on the planet's surface, if ever so briefly. This is a result of this contract being in abeyance. This is what I have come to say this evening, but I wish to say one more, as you say, tiny addendum to what I have just said. I wish to offer my hand as that of my people, that your people can call out to. On past shows, humans have referred to my kind as the fire department or police department. This is a most apt analogy because of the fact that my people actually have stations all over the face and surface of your world, just waiting for your people to call out for help. But remember, you must be specific, you must have your feet firmly planted on the ground, and you must be using your internal protection and have no lessons within your path for our protection to be most sanctified, as you humans would say. Also, you must never agree to any contracts or agreements that any negative entity, such as some of these insectoid races, have put out there. The previously stated revocation is enough to erase all agreements made within your dreamscape. Thank you. All right. Whew. All right. Lorgren was very abrupt in his speech there. So let's see. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? No, I think we can actually go straight to questions. Now it looks like we're close to the ending of the show, so we can actually take listener questions at this time. So if you dial *6 and you get prompted, dial 1, and you should be able to be put in the Q&A queue. If there are no questions, we can continue on with the blessing and the announcements, or Joanna has any further thoughts. So again, dial *6, and then dial 1 when prompted. There we are. There is a wireless caller here with the phone number ending in 1121. Hello, caller. Welcome to the lifting. What's your question?
Hi. I recently had a personal reading with you, and I've been listening to some of your shows and hearing talk about crystals and such, and you're talking about, negative entities and whatever, and that crystals must be clean or cleansed, make sure they don't have anything, but I don't understand what you can do if you're not you to make sure they're clean or to cleanse them.
Well, with crystals, I've noticed there's a variety of different ways to cleanse them. Even sometimes something as simple as purified water will clear them, along with your intention. Intention has a lot to do with it. You don't have to have my sight or my capability in order to throw intention into the crystal. That's very, very strong. Call on source energy, call on your own internal and external source energies to clear the stones, make a ritual of it if you have to. I tell people all the time, you don't have to see the things I do or feel the things I do to be able to do some of these. It's all about intention. It's all about intention in this instance.
Well, I've collected rocks since I was a kid. I love rocks and stuff, and some of them are just plain rocks, but I like them for some reason, and I like to hold them. Just that kind of love and stuff is probably pretty good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
if they feel good?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you're drawn to a particular stone, there's usually a reason for it.
That's what I was thinking. Now, I recently did a dumb thing, and I ordered a crystal ball because I was looking at crystals on eBay, and then I realized immediately, but it was too late, that it's a lot of just, junk glass from China, which it probably is. It's nice and clear, but I'm sure it's just a big hunk of glass. And I'm wondering if that is a bad thing to have around. Would it draw negative entities?
Not necessarily, depending on if something was already in it. I've noticed that some of these crystal balls and skulls, even, I know spheres and skulls are the ones that tend to hold consciousnesses when I find them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You may get a very good entity. Like right now I have a crystal skull sitting next to me. He calls himself Cameron. And at first, when I first found him, there was a demon consciousness in there with him, and I had to release it. And I came to find out that originally some people had abused him and used him for dark rituals. So I healed his energy, and now he's a constant companion. So you may what I just said applies to anything like that. If you feel like there's an entity in there, or if you feel something's not quite right, you can cleanse it. And even ask some of these higher beings if an energy entity of some sort wants to enter that particular crystal or sphere and guide you further. I've heard of people doing this. There's a organization in Australia called Barame Australia, and they have a website. This man, Russell, creates these really awesome geometric art pieces that these electrical consciousnesses move into them, and I nicknamed them Barame consciousnesses, and they're actually very, very awesome. Now, crystal balls are not a bad thing. It's what's done with them. It's like I said about intent. Any of these tools, it's intent. The only one I would exclude from this particular set would be a Ouija board. Those were created by the Cabal to actually summon draconian entities into people's homes. Those had no good intentions behind them. Everything else is fine. Everything else is fine.
What about just vintage things in general? Buying old stuff that belonged to other people, especially if it's real old. Is that a dangerous thing to do in the same way?
Not necessarily. I've seen even newer objects have attachments to them. I found a pendant one time sitting in a parking lot that had a ghost attachment to it that I had to release, and it was very, very new. So sometimes antiques have to do with it, like if something was around an old battle or around some kind of drama that happened in a home a long time ago, or what have you. Yeah, some of those objects can have attachments, but newer ones can have just as equally as many.
Oh, okay. All right. And I haven't listened to enough of your shows, I guess, to understand who Michael is.
Oh, that would be the one everyone refers to as the Archangel Michael. He just prefers Michael because he said humans gave them those archangel titles. So these entities just prefer to be called by their name.
Okay. And then they just kind of exist forever in a way that they aren't really incarnating or anything and then dying off. They just continue.
It's actually a little more complicated. I know Michael, he himself has a lineage. He has a father and a mother just like we do. But there are beings out there that are of what's known as the molecular cellular solid state, where they can traverse energy and matter. Even though he is a very powerful being, from what I have seen from him, he has a larger soul self like any of us do, but he has a physical body like we do as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. I hope that's all I was thinking of. If you see an alien type image in a dream, does that necessarily mean you're actually being visited by one? Because I did have a dream I forgot to tell you about during the reading, and it had an image, but the image immediately struck me as one I had seen in the media somewhere. It wasn't the usual kind of alien look. It reminded me of the Ted in The Wizard of Oz when he was, projecting that big kind of elongated head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, this is for me, though, I have noticed that anytime I see an image in my head of an alien looking at me, it usually is an alien looking at me. So either somebody was giving you a clue by using like the whole Wizard of Oz reference, or somebody was telepathically communicating with you. They were remote viewing you from somewhere. So I get this distinct feeling that that was the case, yes.
Oh, okay. And it was right before I woke up. It seemed like I was like, oh. And they were like seemed like a purple cloak, long cloak. And I really think maybe either they were projecting that image or it's, using an image I'd seen in the past. But, of course, I tend to fall asleep listening to some of your shows. And I feel like sometimes it's the power of suggestion with me. It's like whatever I've been thinking about or hearing or listening to will pop up in my dreams sometimes.
Oh, yeah, sometimes that does happen. But I have known like this green-looking alien type before wearing the purple cloaks before. I have actually seen that species type come up.
It did seem kind of yellow-green to me.
Yes, they're a type of
big head,
gray.
But it had a nose and a mouth and a big head but a long lower face.
Yeah, they're a type of gray Orion hybrid. I'm not quite sure the specifics. They're a type of hybrid. I know that for certain.
Rats. I'm probably gonna have to do another reading then and get any implants removed, right?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Some things can come back, but if you protect yourself well enough, that doesn't always happen 100%. Like I've said to people, I can't promise that they don't come around. You just have to practice protection, discernment, and all of that. Now, have some implants slip past the security a little bit for us? Yeah. We were able to remove them right away, though.
Do you have to do anything special other than the personal protection things that you say to remove them?
Well, I'm able to see into human energy cores to be able to remove these. But if you feel there is a spot on your body that you know something isn't quite right, intention again, you just project your thoughts down there and visualize it leaving your body.
Okay. I can do that. I have some aches.
Okay.
And pains. But you said we were basically really clean, so.
Yes.
Okay. I think that was my main questions. If people are sick or have illnesses or pains, does it necessarily usually mean there's an attachment or something or alien involvement?
Every time I have looked, that has been the case, yes.
Oh, okay. So maybe someone who's got something going on could get whatever removed and possibly get better then.
Oh, yes. I've seen it happen. It differs from person to person. But I have seen people get better. But I've also seen some people, it take a while, and sometimes it's immediate. It just depends on the person.
It's probably a little bit of recovery time, I bet you.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. You have a good night.
You too.
All right. We have another caller in here with the number ending in 0818. Hello. Welcome to the lifting. What's your question tonight?
Hello, Chris. This is Lana. Hi, Joanna. How are you?
Oh, hey, Lana. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Hey, this is a really, really interesting topic you have tonight, and I'm glad I tuned in. I have a question. I want to understand how or when the Galactic Federation came to be in charge of our solar system. And from my understanding, from what I'm hearing, it seems as though that they're kind of preventing others from helping us when there is so much bullying going on here on Earth with the humans. And considering that we have no memory when we come in here and we are so limited in our understanding of how to protect ourselves, and it seems to me that they are doing their best not to allow anyone to help us in the condition that we find ourselves in.
Yes, this is just very interesting. I'm glad you brought this up. The Galactic Federation, in some respects, I feel are sometimes just as bad as some of these oppressive entities because they're in the opposite end of the spectrum. They believe non-interference and lessons learned are key. And in dealing with some of the members of the Galactic Federation, their protocol is like their supreme thought. I see it as a form of programming. This is just my opinion, but I've tried to explain to some of their people in instances where aliens have interfered from outside, that their non-interference directive goes completely out the window. Their directive was only created because the planets that have not been oppressed from the outside and have their own internal disputes, that's their own business. That's not the business of any Galactic Federation. But if you have external aliens coming in and making a mess of things,
correct,
then that goes out the window. And a lot of races, such as my guide Simeon's race of the Pleiadian Collective, they agree with that. They believe at least some minimal contact to try to even the playing field is necessary. Galactic Federation completely disagrees with it, and they've even tried to block Simeon and his species from helping. They've tried to block Chewanda's species, the Native American-looking Pleiadian, several times. They've tried to block other energy species from coming in here. They even attempted to quarantine our solar system so other species could not enter here. Because of this non-interference protocol, they saw it as they have more of a natural selection mindset when it comes to this. Like they see the reptilians in them as saying, "Oh, this was nature's will that this be done," and if that species dominates, so be it. This is just another sentient species that it was the survival of the fittest, and they couldn't be any more incorrect than that. There is another method that the Elohim Creator Council did explain to me that actually does make sense. There are other species out there that nature has kind of, I don't want to say selected them for extinction. That sounds very, very judgmental. But some species that have run their course, like some of the gray species that are out there. Even Joyce's people have said, some of their species have run their course, but in doing so, they have lended some of their DNA not only to our people but other planets out there. Mm-hmm. And this is a part of nature continuing, where some of these species will give a little bit of themselves. There was a story I was told by guides about two warring factions out there in the universe. Each side destroyed the other's homeworld, and there were only two survivors left of either one survivor left of each species. And they made it here to Earth around the ancient Greek mythological period. And what happened was those two had children. Then those children had children with humans, therefore adding some of their genetic codes to the human genome. And that's how those codes survived those two cataclysms. And so nature was kind of weeding them out, but then still kept enough of the codes behind to lend some traits or some talents to another species that was going to become more balanced like us.
Correct. Now, what I would like to understand is that who put them in charge to begin with, the Galactic Federation?
I've actually asked this very same question, and let me see if any of my guides will answer this one. Our guide Lentazar here is saying that they actually formed themselves many, many millions of years ago. I'm being told at least 100 million or more years ago. They came from, they're transmitting knowledge to me. They came from a world that was slightly oppressed by their own people. They became unified, and they started to form some very good laws when they started to go out into the universe. And then they added more planets, and it's very much like how it is in Star Trek with the United Federation of Planets. Then it grew from that point, but then, of course, they found before they got some of the more stricter protocols in there. They, of course, like what Lorgren was saying, or I should say Bugnassi was saying too, that they came across a world where they gave too much too freely, and then they got taken over, and they basically now have laws that have a stranglehold to them. So they apparently are more in fear. That's where some of these laws come from. So it's been at least 100. Well, yeah, they're telling me about roughly 100 million years that these people have been in charge out there.
So it sounds to me like they've become zealots or something like that.
Yes, the one that I spoke to, he wouldn't even give me his real name. He called himself Mr. X, and he was protocol to the core. He was just there was no bending or flexing with him at all. When I was being very nice to him. And he attempted to block my transmissions, block Semion's transmissions, and any other races out there. And the Pleiadian collective stepped in as a whole and mentally repelled them because they considered that more or less like an attack. So they were able to repel them. Yeah, a lot of the Galactic Federation members I've come across have been very, very stubborn.
Is there something that we as a collective tonight could do something to make a change in any way, shape, or form to have these rules be relaxed or put someone else in charge of our solar system to make something happen for the better for all?
I would just say just keep. I would just say keep with your vibration raising. You know, I spoke to the spiritual court of equity over this. There's only so much they can do on that too. These people are just going to have to change with time. We really cannot change the free will of others. They're just going to have to change in time. The vibrations that we put out, I have been told, will slowly start to get them to bend and flex over a period of time. But do I see the Galactic Federation leadership changing anytime soon? No.
It doesn't look like there's much hope for us because there's a lot of people still asleep, and with them being so forceful in their ways, they're not allowing a whole lot to happen for us here, it seems like.
Well, Joanna, did you want to answer this one?
Well, so Lana, I mean, I think some of the message that we're trying to get out is if you visualize it that way, it's still looking for someone on the outside to intervene on our behalf. Now it's the Galactic Federation. How are they going to change to help us? That's all outside. When the truth of the matter is that they're actually meant to be a little bit of a rub. They're meant to be a rub, because the bottom line is that we're supposed to be learning now how to bring it from the inside. So we all have to get out of and an interesting thing as well is that if you're looking at them, instead of saying you people out there help us, and you just look out there and say you guys are really fucked up, then at least you're seeing them more of being in a more human sense or more of an equal. And then you just bring it and learn and bring it from within to raise your vibration, and that cascade effect will promote the change that we need. So the best that I think we could do in the ultimate was that, humans were able to understand the infrastructure and the problems enough to even recognize that they needed to be taken to court, basically. That the source and those acting on behalf of the source were crying foul, and they are in the system now to be reviewed. And some of their things are going to go away that are overages. They are. That's what happens. But it's all about showing the importance of us as individual humans to assert ourselves and understand who we are and bring it from within. Things like we were saying about if you're walking around in an area and you feel that it's really dense, Yes, all you need to do, the person walking in that area feeling that it's really dense, is saying, hey, people, fire department, guides, I feel this place is really dense. I don't think this is right. I don't know why. Maybe something's under dispute. Maybe whatever. I don't know why this pocket's staying so dense. But if it helps at all, I am the one on boots on the ground, and let me call out and ask you and the source and everything to declare this place that I'm standing on right now and all its surrounding as a neutral piece of property. You can do that. Anyone listening to this call can do that. So what it's going to be about is us stop focusing on us learning about the infrastructure, us learning about it, but us stopping the focus of it, the expectation that it's going to be them. Because actually, who better than can you trust than your own self? And so really, when it finally clicks into everyone's mind that we control this ourselves, it actually is extremely empowering. So like for Chris and I, when we go to places now, as soon as we feel it, we're talking to everybody. Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. I ain't waiting for anybody. Bring it in. And it is very empowering that this isn't just something that he and I do. So instead of feeling loss of hope, we feel more hopeful because we see it a totally different way.
Yes, I get it. I've been doing that too.
Yeah, so I mean, that's for everyone on the call. No, you shouldn't feel hopeless. Once you really get it, the goal is that you feel all the hope because, you know that you can do something boots on the ground. And it will work. Yes. It's a matter of physics. The physics say it works. Higher vibration, lower vibrations will rise to higher vibration. It doesn't go the other way.
So the galactics are there to answer to our call when we feel something is not right then. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and understand as well that these beings, this Galactic Federation, who allowed someone to get out of control, are no better than us. They messed up. They're now being looked at. They're not this, omnipotent, whatever. They're just at a little bit different learning station, and they allowed themselves to get out of control. So they're going to have to go through their learning curve as well. But we don't need to wait for them.
Exactly, I agree. So we'll do what we can, boots on the ground.
Yes. Yes, that was a very great question. Thank you for bringing that up, Lana.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Okay, now we are actually past the hour. So with that, I do believe we can end with an affirmation and a blessing. This one is by Michael. I ask all here that you never accept bullying and oppression as a foregone conclusion. There is learning, there is oppression, and there is both. Please, humanity, I ask that you learn the difference within your very own lives. Peace be with you, Michael. All right. I will now end the show with a few announcements. This show will be able to replay as soon as it is finished by calling the free conference call replay number of 712-775-7039. All shows will also be posted on the Lifting website. This one will be up in the next few days. Please watch for our weekly blog. We'll post a new blog every Monday and discuss it further on Tuesday's show. Hopefully between reading the blog and listening to the discussion on the show, you will be able to reflect and ask questions related to the topic. If you have questions after the show, please forward them to thelifting2017@gmail.com. Every other Thursday, we will have a viewer's question show. We will choose questions from the audience to answer here. Depending on volume, we cannot guarantee we can answer all questions. If we notice a similar question being asked from multiple persons, we will add it to the questions and answer to the FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions tab. Our next Q&A is Thursday, February 16th, 2017. You can also schedule a personal reading from me or my mother, Katrina, by going to the website and clicking on the Appointment tab. Session costs are $125 for 1 hour and $200 for 2 hours. I will not go over a 2-hour reading in one session. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on this 5th episode of The Lifting. I almost screwed that up yet again this week. We will look forward to chatting with you again next Tuesday, February 14th. This is Valentine's Day, so we have invited my mother on to discuss soulmates. Thank you, and good night, everybody.